Hello, welcome back to Fred in the Shed. I hope you're all well. Midwinter when I'm making this video, so weather's not great outside. Now, I do listen and read your comments on my videos, and as I've been making a lot of videos on little shortwave radio, certainly around the mid price point, sort of £50 to £70, the one radio that you have time and time again almost screamed at me in the comments, Fred, get this one in, see what you think, is the little Tecsun PL-330. And Banggood have been very kind and have sent me in a model to test. Now then, although I haven't done hardly any Tecsun radios, I think there was a very small manual tune radio a while ago, I'm not unfamiliar with Tecsun radios because I've owned this PL-600 for many years now. I think it must be 12 years, something like that. This was one of my first radios when I was thinking about getting into shortwave. In fact, I bought this radio before I splashed out and bought the Froggy receiver up here. And I probably use this one the most. Now, what I love about this radio is the fact it has PLL synthesized tuning. Not quite as good as the old-fashioned analog tuning, but it has a very smooth tuning VFO, and it's not choppy. It hasn't got that DSP mute that you get nowadays, where what I call a chuff, where it goes cha 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 when you tune it. This one is very, very smooth. So I'm hoping that the new kid on the block, the PL-330, although this is DSP, I'm hoping that this has improved tuning compared to some of the DSP radios that we have tested over the last year, because to be honest, a few of them have been quite crude, and I know that puts a lot of you off, and I do understand that totally. So that's what we're going to be doing on this video. I don't know how long it's going to be, because I never do at this stage, but we're going to take this radio, we'll try it on all of its modes. It does have an external antenna socket, so we'll plug in a little GA800 loop and we'll try it on shortwave, and then if the band conditions improve, we'll plug it into my external antenna, and we can then have a little flick around the hand bands and maybe the CB bands, because it has got a sideband, of course. So that's all coming up on this video, so stay tuned and let's crack into it. We'll do a quick unboxing. I know some of you don't like unboxings, but I think in a way it's important to see what you get for your money. Okay, so first out of the box is, okay, quite a, not a bad looking pair of earbud headphones here. They've got a steel mesh over the speaker there. They look reasonable quality. It's all falling out of the box here. The battery to power the radio, and this looks like the Nokia battery, and that is really good because these are so cheap to buy on the internet. Is it a BL5 or something? Let me get it out of the... It's a branded Tecsun battery. Yeah, the BL5C Nokia battery. Get those anywhere. Very good if you're going to go on travelling. Standard USB-C charging cable, nothing else. So I wonder if you've got an antenna wire, because it does have an external socket, but no. Oh, okay. So here's the radio in itself. Quite a nice fake suede little travel bag there, which is branded with the Tecsun logo. That's quite nice, because this is a travel radio, of course. Something that you're likely to take on your holidays. And then there's the radio itself. It does remind me very much of my 600, but it's kind of gone in the wash and got a little bit shrunk. There we go. Numerical keypad there for the frequency input. First impressions? Yeah, it's okay. It's not too heavy. Quite compact. I hope that's not the instructions. Okay, I'll just maybe service information that's all in Chinese. I really hope that's not the instructions. No, there isn't. There is an instruction book. Oh, and there we go. So the PL-300 or 330, I should say. And this is all in Chinese. And no English translation. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Right, okay, so so maybe I've got the Chinese version here. I hope there's not any difference in the receiving, because all of this is purely in Chinese, which is absolutely no use to me at all. That's a bit disappointing. You know what I like? I do like instructions, and this does seem to be nicely printed, but completely useless. So I'm in the dark. I'm going to have to fumble through this then and try and do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, we're not off to the best start, so there's nothing else. There's no little... Again, this is all in Chinese on the back of the radio here. Is there a little Q code or something that I can... No. Okay, so yeah, we may have been sent maybe we've been sent the Chinese version. The writing, thankfully, on the radio is all in English, including the little sticker on the side there, but no instructions. Right, let's put the battery in and see what happens. So the battery compartment isn't screwed. Oh, okay, that's just right. Sorry, I've almost broke it. That will be just to remove it. I thought there might have been a protective piece of film over the battery itself, then, but there's not. First thing I'm noticing, compared to my 600, there's no fold-out kickstand. When I use these radios, I like to have them resting like this for tuning. But we haven't got a kickstand, and we haven't got any rubber feet, so it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be a little bit wibbly wobbly, I'm afraid. Yeah, so the antenna, oh, that's good. So the antenna has an indent there. You can see they've made an indent, so we can do a 360-degree turn. It would have been quite nice if that had a kickstand, even just a little peg or something out the side. I do have this bracket here that some of you have commented on. This is just a iPhone bracket that you can get very cheap on eBay, but they're really useful for mounting the radio. I'm now completely off camera, aren't I? But that's what we'll be using for the review. Okay, I'm back. It's another day. Life got in the way of making YouTube videos. So as we were saying, this Chinese instruction booklet, absolutely useless for me anyway, in my country. However, I went online and I found this Australian guide, which is basically a much more detailed version of the little booklet. And this is absolutely awesome. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go away and have a look yourself. It's on a PDF format, and I've printed this out. And I'm so glad that I did, because not only does it show you all of the functions of all of the buttons, but it's picked up on one function that this radio has that I didn't realise it did. And this is so unique, because out of all the radios that I've tested since I started this channel, none of them have this feature, and I think this feature could really help someone starting out in the hobby. Let me explain. Now, don't worry, in a moment we'll do a usual thing. We'll zoom in and we'll have a look at all of the buttons. But I've just got to tell you about this feature, because I think this is awesome. In fact, if you're new to shortwave radio and you've never had a radio before, this feature, just on its own, I think sells the radio. It's worth buying the radio to have this. No other radio that I've tested since I started testing these radios has this feature. Now on the radio here is a tiny little button. You won't be able to see it. I'll show you it when we get closer. Just up by the display there. It's called ETM, and it stands for Enhanced Tuning Mode. And I missed it when I first looked at the radio, didn't think much of it. But now I've read the instructions, I'll explain what it does. Now, if you're new to shortwave radio, and a lot of you are, you may go out and buy a cheap little shortwave radio. You might spend a little bit more money on one of these, or the D808, and you'll switch it on when you first get it, very eager to see what's on the bands. You'll tune around. You might pick up, depending on conditions, maybe 5, 6 radio stations, and some of those will be foreign language stations. 1 or 2 might be religious stations, and you'll think, oh, is that it? That's a waste of time. Shortwave radio's dead. And you'll just put the radio to one side. What you have to understand with shortwave, it works on radio propagation. So whereas you might pick up a station, we'll say on the 19 metre band, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if you go back and switch the radio on, you'll find that frequency is dead. It doesn't necessarily mean the radio station is switched off. It just means that they've changed frequency. They've gone to a different band, because as the day goes on, radio propagation changes. What happens when you press the ETM, once you've set the clock on the radio, so you press this at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 1600 hours, it will then do a scan dependent on the wavelength that you've set. So for example, we went to 19 meters. It will scan all up and down 19 meters, and then it will save each radio station or each strong signal that it receives in that meter band. It will save that to memory. And okay, you could say, well, a lot of radios do that. This one does it as well. But the clever thing is that it will save it in a memory, but it will save it as a 1600, 4 o'clock memory band. If you come back at, say, 8 o'clock in the evening, you do another scan on that frequency, it will save the stations, but it will save it in the 8 o'clock, the 2000 hours band. And that is so important, that it breaks the memory banks down into hours, because, as I said, because radio propagation stations changed the broadcast frequency. I hope I've made that clear, but it is so important when you first get a radio, trying to work out, when you've done it for a while, then you roughly know what bands are going to become open at what time, and you go straight there. And again, I would have no idea for that feature had I not downloaded the full manual. And to be honest with you, I really wish they would supply something maybe a little bit smaller, but something like this, because these are functions and features that you miss. Anyway, just had to tell you that, because I think that's going to make the video, that's going to make my recommendation on this radio straight away. But let's get it on the bench now, and let's have a quick look and go around some of the other features that the radio has. Let's have a closer look around the radio then. Now, there are a lot of features that this radio has. I might miss a couple when I do this, so if there's something I've missed that you think is important, just drop it in the comments, and that will help other people. One of the first things you have to realise is that some of these buttons work even when the radio is switched off. And in saying it when it's switched off, it never really switches off. It's always in this standby mode, which shows the clock. I think that probably is the alarm setting up there. But these symbols, or this writing in red here, show you some of the features that you can set when the radio is switched off. So first one over here is the 9 and 10 kilohertz step rate for medium wave, depending what country you're in. Next one, if you hold down number 2, you can switch off or on the long wave reception. So I've switched mine on. And then you have the FM set. This can be set from, I think it's 88 to 108, if you hold that down. Yeah, 76 to 108, 87 to 108, 88 to 108, which is a standard UK band, and then you've got DX, what I call a DX band, so you can take it down to 64 to 108 if you fancy a little bit of DXing on FM. So there's 4 there to choose from. Right, let's switch the radio on. You can adjust it so the backlight is on all the time, but I haven't seen any backlight on the buttons, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. That would have been quite nice. So you've got 2 step rates for your manual tuning on FM. Now it's worth mentioning the tuning pot here. It is stepped, but it's quite nice. It's dampened. It does feel very nice actually to use. There's no indent on it for fast tuning, unfortunately. But it's not a multifunctional pot. You can't press it in to access maybe like the step rate or something like that. That would have been a little bit useful. And then the pot underneath it is purely volume control. It is a digital volume control as well. It's not analog, which is kind of a little bit of an issue, and I'll show you that in a second. But again, this is not multifunctional. I think I would have liked it maybe if you push that in, and then it would have become the fine tune. So this would be your coarse tune, and this would be your fine tune on sideband. That would have been a little easier than having to keep changing the step rate. But I guess it is what it is. So your step rate on FM is 10 or 100 kilohertz. You're probably going to have it on 100, I would have thought. You've got different ways to tune up the FM band. As I mentioned, you've got the ETM, the automatic tune. Again, that will correspond with hours. So you can tune up that and it will put it into whatever the hours is. You've also just got a basic tune, which is probably what you're going to use. And this is this VF button here. And then when it finds a station, it will stop for approximately 5 seconds. I better raise the antenna. I haven't raised the antenna. So you've got a stainless steel whip antenna. It's about 50 centimetres long. It does rotate round to the front of the radio. I'm a bit off camera, unfortunately. But again, that's not really means anything because there's no kickstand. So the radio can't sit on a bench at an angle. So we're fully put up the antenna. So yeah, that's your basic scan tune. Then you have the advanced tuning, as we mentioned before. And again, this is quite useful. This will scan through, and then it will automatically put any signals that it receives. It will automatically put them into memory. I think you've got 100 memories on FM, and then you can press this button to put them in ascending order. So yeah, quite useful. Right, let's see what it sounds like, because this speaker, it is very, very thin, and I wonder if it's going to affect the sound. So let's tune up to radio 2 and hopefully not get any music. I don't mind, your looks never lie. Oh, we have got music, so I'm going to just press the VF here just to go up to the next station. Oh, that's one thing to say. When you want to search, like a scan search, because this is a digital volume, it's not analog, but I can't now turn up the volume, which is that's a bit strange. We'll stop that on radio 4. But yeah, I can't turn the volume up. I can now. But yeah, that's a little bit awkward. Right, so this is radio 4. Let's hear what that speaker sounds like.
But I can also say they might change the order, but we will we'll see as we go. Now, with me in the studio here in London, James Naughtie, veteran US watcher. Jim, just talk us who is there in that rotunda and who is not there.
It's a remarkable scene, Evan. They're inside, although it's only -3.
Sounds really good, actually. They've got away with it. They've obviously used a very good speaker cone. There's even a tiny little bit of bass resonance. I don't think it's anything you can listen to music on, but it's very, very clear with the spoken voice. We'll just go up again. Try this one. Capital Radio.
The weirdest thing I've seen so far this year.
Yeah, see, I can't change the volume there, and now I can. That's a little bit strange, a bit hard to get used to. But yeah, I think the FM performance, just up in the shack here. I mean, I'm not really testing it properly, but it sounds really, really nice. It seems to go really, really loud. Whether you buy it for the FM, I'm not really sure. Let's swap over to medium wave, so I can bring the antenna down, because it's got a built-in ferrite rod. As I said, you can change between the external and the internal antenna. Personally, I just think the ferrite rod works better. So let's go over to medium wave. I'll have to switch the overhead lights off though, because we'll get interference. So we just do a basic search. It's not picking up a lot in here, but then we are indoors. It needs to be outdoors, really. It's too cold at the moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Honorable J.D. Vance.
That was quite loud. Now you can change the bandwidth.
Taking photographs of what is happening on the television as I'm surrounded by Trump supporters. The senator previously.
How do we do that?
Ohio, who will
Bandwidth.
become the next vice president of the United States, came to fame.
Oh, there we go. 9.
Perhaps through his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, which
So you got
told the
2.5,
story of his life
3.5, which
as
is
America
standard,
is working
up to
for.
9.
He is standing beside.
Sounds
his
quite good
wife,
on 9.
Who is smiling. And behind them, I can see Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump Jr. And they are all, of course, waiting for President-elect Donald Trump. There's kind of a murmuring in this room as they wait for what they will see the main event and the person that they have chosen to be the next president of the United States.
Yes, I'm going to say, although I haven't really tuned around that many stations, I'm going to say that it sounds really nice on medium wave. That speaker, surprisingly, does a really, really good job. But there again, you're probably not going to buy this radio maybe for medium wave. So I think we need to try the shortwave on the radio. We do have the sync function now on shortwave, which can sometimes improve the signal. I'll probably leave it off, but we'll try shortwave and sideband. I'll see what the temperature's like outside, but I might have to do it indoors downstairs. Going to do a little bit of shortwave now. Now normally I do this outside. I really like to use that little G800 from Distortion, that little loop antenna. It's just too cold outside and it gets dark too quickly. I mean, it's barely above freezing all day in the UK. So we're going to do it up in the comfort of the computer room, and I'm going to use my Antron 99CB antenna, which works surprisingly well on shortwave. So we're going to plug that in. What we do is we'll have a little flick around the shortwave band, and then we'll go on to sideband. Here we are in lower sideband, and we're going to test out the tuning. Now, as I mentioned, as it's a DSP radio, it does mute when you do the coarse tune on 1 kilohertz, and I'll demonstrate that now. So you do get that soft muting and the occasional crash. It's not too bad, but it is there. But the important thing is whether it can tune the fine tune, which would be your BFO or your clarifier. So whether it can tune that without muting. So we press the step button. We're now going on to the fine tune. Let's turn the volume up. There you go, completely smooth. And that's really important, especially if you're listening on headphones, that muting gets very, very annoying very quickly. So they've done a good job there. They've managed to have linear tuning on the fine tune. And I think that's about as good as it gets with a DSP radio.
Wajumbe wa Katolika Sikulazione, yani bima ya Kikatoliki, Jumamosi tarehe 18 Januari.
Of the king's seed and of the princes, he wanted those who were chosen and by natural birth in the lineage of the kings and the princes of Israel.
Moreover, I believe that Biden's latest rules could negatively affect 120 countries, including U.S. allies like Switzerland, which is currently the global leader in innovation.
Also, what is happening in the recent days in China, we call it the small red book, or the little red book, another app in the cell phone, that more and more foreigners now moved, flooded into the app. And
Mike 0 Japan Charlie Foxtrot, is that correct? Okay, very good, Mark. Yeah, I've got you over here by Kent, and I got the QRZ page up. And Mark, you're nuts. I say that because I'm looking at the QRZ page and I see you on the motorcycle.
Japan has the autograph. Autograph before you, my friend. You have that.
There's other feedback, so just like, you know what, I put thousands, I'll call it this way, thousands, I would say, sympathies could help your family, and thank you very much for the contact.
Mike 7 X-Ray Charlie Echo, Golf 8 Mike November Yankee here. So coming in quite well. I've got other traffic on an Italian coming in who I tried to but his English is poor. And there's another one just off the side, so it's quite a busy channel, I'm afraid, there. But we are getting you from Birmingham. Running a kilowatt here to a Delta Loop, far and east-west in Croydon, and so you're coming in fairly well. I'll see if I can record you on a clear channel. GHMNY. Oh, there you go. It's such an old, isn't he? What was I going to say, Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, it's just lovely looking radio, isn't they? But they're an old radio now. And I was looking at the price you wanted for it, and I thought, oh no, too much money. United Radio Kilowatt Group. Good evening. Thank you for a call. 5-8 strong clear signal here in Lithuania. My name is America, London, George, Italy, Spain. Go ahead. Fox Victor, good evening, 59, thank you. Fox Victoria, Roger. Roger, thank you. 10-3, Echo 1, Whiskey Alpha. Sierra Victor 1, Mike Radio. SB 1, Mike Radio Alpha, 5-9. Victoria 3, Whiskey Tango Juliet, Italy, Victor 3, Whiskey Tango Juliet, Italy, Victor 3, Whiskey Tango Juliet, CQ 20 meter.
And the spelling of the mic, India, Zulu, number 3. Italy, Zanzibar, number 3. CQ 20, meter. Italy, Zara, number 3. Whiskey, United Whiskey, Portable. Italy, Zara, number 3. Whiskey, United Whiskey, Portable. CQ 20, standing by.
Yeah, a good day today, but the frequency ain't here, and we are talking Danish here for the moment.
To show you long wave, didn't I? It does receive long wave. I only get one radio station on long wave. I'm going to switch the overhead lights off because that interferes with the radio, and then I can hold it up to the microphone and we can have a listen.
Which is the traditional format. Vice presidents often choose somebody who's not the Chief Justice to swear them in, and Vance has chosen Kavanaugh on this occasion. And then the President-elect will go straight into his speech. Now, it was originally in their timetable supposed to be more than 40 minutes, which would be a long speech. By inaugural standards, that's very, very long. We'll see.
Derek, do you remember the last inaugural speech of Donald
So it's working.
Very, very clearly.
Even with the overhead lights, actually.
15 or 16 minutes,
It was 21 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it works pretty well. Some radios just don't get long wave up here at all. Now, there was bandwidths that I didn't mention, all of them. I have them written down now, so let me just read them out. So on the AM side there, and this applies to your shortwave, it's 2.5, 3.5, 5.0. And then on sideband, 0.5, 1.2, 2.2, 3.0, 4.0. Quite a nice selection, really. So I think it's time to do my usual conclusion with this radio. Now, before I really get into it, I know these things drag on a bit these days. I know you're going to ask me this, and that is why I've bought these two radios in. Hopefully, are we on camera? I think we are. So we've got the Quadascend DX286, and then the XH Data D808. And I know you, because these are all about the same price, and I know you're going to ask me, what do I think is the best radio? And it's really hard to sort of try and tell you that, to be perfectly honest, because each one has got their own strengths and weaknesses. Let me just very quickly go through it. The Quadascend radio is ultra sensitive on FM. If FM's your thing, excuse me, and you want to go and try and do DXing on the FM side, look no further than the Quadascend. It's also, the buttons are nice and easy to use. The 808 radio has the same chipset that this radio's got, which is the SI4735 chipset. But the 808 does have airband. This little radio, it doesn't have airband. Might not be important to you, it might be. The 808 is also a little bit bigger, and it's got a slightly bigger speaker. Sounds maybe just a little bit better. However, when it comes down to memory presets and searches, it doesn't have that ETM button, that hourly search of memories going into a memory bank per hour. That is totally unique.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President.
So that's Trump there getting sworn in America. Not going to discuss that. We don't do politics on this channel. So then, final conclusions of this radio. This was the radio that you asked me to get in. And those of you that own it absolutely love it. And I can see why now I've had it in and had a good play with it. It is a really impressive little shortwave, medium wave radio. It hasn't missed a beat. No issues with it locking up or anything like that. And again, although I keep banging on about it, but that ETM feature where it saves the memories into memory banks per hour is such a godsend on shortwave and understanding shortwave. So I would say that if you've never had a shortwave radio before and you're looking to spend, say, £50 or £60 around that mark, this is the perfect beginner's shortwave radio. And maybe, if like me, you've already got lots of shortwave radios, well, probably too many shortwave radios, but you're looking to take a new radio away on holiday, you want to treat yourself, there's a little pocket radio. It doesn't underperform. It does really, really well. I suppose there's always things they could improve upon. I would have liked to have the keypad illuminated, and I would like the keys a little bit bigger. And these pots would be better if they were maybe multifunctional, but that's not, it's not too bad. Likewise, the USB-C on the side there, I did connect this to a computer. It doesn't read it as a drive. So when it comes down to updating firmware, I really don't know how you would update the firmware, even if you can update the firmware. At the moment, it doesn't need it. There's no bugs or issues, but that might be something to consider. And then moving on to the back of the radio, do like the fact it's got the Nokia little battery. You can just replace that. But yeah, a kickstand would have been nice because I like to use my radios at an angle, and the antenna does come out at an angle. So once again, I think a kickstand would have been would have been quite decent. But I mean, overall, it is a great little radio. Now, this comes sent in from Banggood. Thank you very much to them. As I've been with Banggood quite a while, I can get you just a little discount code. I've pushed my luck a little bit with Banggood, and that should be in the description. That'll just get you a little bit more off the money if you're interested in maybe purchasing this radio, and there'll be a buying link in the description. And Banggood also told me that in March 2025, throughout the month, they're having a sale. I don't know if this radio will be in the sale, but it might be even cheaper, so maybe you want to keep an eye on that. And that's it. We're at the end of the video. As always, I would like to thank you very much for your view time. I do really appreciate you dropping by. I will never take you for granted on this channel. If you get a second, just hit me a thumbs up down below. That really does help me, helps the channel, encourages me to make more videos. But as always, I would like to say, stay safe, look after each other for me, and of course, I will catch you on the next video. Cheers, guys.